we want to factor this quadratic, and we're going to use that big X method. But what's different in this particular problem, the shortcut is not going to be available. And the reason is the number in front is not 1. But we're going to start it off exactly the same by drawing ourselves a big X. And then we're going to take the numbers on the outside, which is 5 and -9. We're going to grab those, multiply them together. My hands are in the air. Grab, multiply, write it in the top. So 5 times -9 is -45. Then you want to take the number in the middle, -4, grab that one and shove it straight down so it goes to the bottom here. So that is -4. Now, ultimately, my goal is to think of two numbers that when I multiply them, I get -45. But when I add those two numbers, I get -4. If you can think of those numbers off the top of your head, great. But if not, most of you will need to come over and do a little bit of brainstorming. And so the brainstorming involves taking the positive version of this number, so 45, and listing every pair of numbers that multiply together to get 45. If your multiplication skills are not great, you want to have your calculator handy, but I can start with 1 times 45, because those are as far apart as possible, so 1 and 45. If you have your calculator, you're like 45 divided by 2. That gives you a decimal. 2 does not fit in. 45 divided by 3 is 15. So now I have 3 times 15. 45 divided by 4 is a decimal, so that doesn't fit in. 45 divided by 5 is 9, so 5 times 9. We've almost met in the middle. 1 and 45 are really far apart. Moving in a little bit, 3 and 15 a little closer. 5 and 9 a little closer. Now the numbers between 5 and 9, 6, 7, 8, those still need to be checked. So 45 divided by 6, by 7, and by 8 are all decimals, so those don't fit in. So I know I have them all. So now that I have this short list, let's use it to think of two numbers that when you multiply them, you get -45. So far that tells me one of the numbers is positive and the other one is negative. But they have to add up to -4. So if I have a positive number and a negative number and they add up to a negative, that means the bigger one has to be negative to have the leftover be negative. So looking at these numbers, which pair is going to get me to 4? And that's going to be the 9 and 5. So I'm going to jot 9 and 5 over here. And then I have to decide which one's negative, but one more time, the bigger one is negative, so let's just verify. 5 times -9 is -45. 5 plus -9 is -4. Now what's different is since the number in front is 5, something that's not 1, what I'm going to need to do, since the A is not equal to 1, so what we're going to do is put the numbers that we just thought of over A, so it's going to make a fraction, and then simplify that fraction. So this is the extra step. So over A, the A is 5, so I'm going to put this over 5 and over 5. Let's simplify the fractions. Nothing fits into 9 and 5 besides 1. So this one's done. Here though, 5 fits into 5 and 5 fits into 5. So that is going to become, just arrowing over there, 1 over 1. We now have everything we need to write our factored form here. So I'm going to have x times x to get me back to x to the second. The question now is just what number goes here and what number goes here. bottom over top. Bottom first, top second. You're backing your way into this. Beep, beep. Okay, so bottom goes first. The one that I have here, whoops, the one that I have here, this one, it's in the bottom, so it goes first. This one is in the top, so it goes last. Now that's a positive one, so I'm going to put +1. Okay, bottom, then top. So the 5 is going to go in the front, and the -9 in the back. And we now have this factored. Now I could simplify the tiniest amount, like 1x is just x. So I could just write x + 1. So we are done with the problem, but if you want to just double check that you have it right, you can always take what we got as an answer, x + 1 times 5x - 9, and FOIL it back together. So x times 5x is 5x squared. Then x times -9, -9x. 1 times 5x, 5x. 1 times -9, -9. -9x's and 5x's make -4x. And so this is exactly the same as what we started with, so I know that I have that one correct.